The CoinDesk Spotlight is brought to you by Nexo, the place to earn on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and more.
All right, so the crypto market's taking a bit of a recovery, but if we pull back over the past week, they have been taking a beating across all subsectors. Gaming and NFTs are leading the way down, falling 42% year to date, followed by DeFi, according to crypto asset manager Arca. Joining us now to discuss is Yossi Hasson, CEO of NFT venture studio Metaversal, and Alex Felix, CoinFund Chief Investment Officer. Hello there, Yossi and Alex. Thanks for joining us. So I wonder, in this market, are NFTs falling in value, or do they operate more like art, and how does that work?
Well, actually, what we're seeing is that NFTs are holding their value, and in fact, many are going up. We've seen communities like Bored Ape Yacht Club have their floor price in ETH, and in dollar terms, continue to increase and climb despite the crypto decline, and volumes on platforms like OpenSea have trebled. We've seen 34% growth over the past 7 days, with over $4.5 billion in volume. So what the crypto community is saying is that they're liking the discount that we're seeing in dollar terms on ETH, and are using that to stack their NFTs and potentially get into some good trades. So the market on the NFT side seems to be acting opposite to the broader crypto market.
Well, earlier this month, Metaversal raised $50 million in a Series A funding round that was led by CoinFund, Foxhaven Asset Management, and included Franklin Templeton. So now the venture studio is using the money to add to its NFT portfolio, invest in metaverse companies. So I wonder, are you in a buying frenzy mode? Are you still holding back and waiting to watch the market?
Yeah, we're long-term orientated, so we're not looking at short-term volatility in the market and pricing. We're looking at assets that we call iconic and that are telling our infinite stories and that will stand the test of time. So we're looking at the right entry points for that all the time, despite what's happening in the market today. And when we look at the macro of the market, there's only 1 million people that have been trading NFTs to date, roughly 1 million to date. Think of something like eBay. They have 181 million people on their platform. We are still at the beginning, at the infancy of this NFT movement. So we're long-term bullish, and we're buying as we speak. Our analysts are looking at projects every single day.
Alex or Yossi, if you want to jump in. If I were to develop a pricing model for the NFT market, what factors would I want to look at in terms of what's affecting the overall value and the usage of NFT and trading of NFTs?
Yeah, I think you have to kind of step back and think about each NFT property and the community that it's organizing around. So one example, and why CoinFund is so bullish on NFTs is we think it is the story about mainstream adoption. We have a couple million users, as Yossi mentioned today. The NBA itself, that has a property called NBA Top Shot, has 2 billion global fans. So we really do see this as a way to bring intellectual property to mainstream and have adoption and subscriber growth go from here and be tremendously positive. As Yossi mentioned, we have $500 million of NFTs being traded today, and a lot of concern about the supply of NFTs coming to the market faster than the growth. But I think if you look out, there's just a huge amount of people that have yet to own an NFT, and once they do, we're seeing tremendous retention rates and tremendous average revenue per user when you stack up some of the numbers.
Does the rise of sports betting, and you mentioned the NBA, so does the rise of sports betting, legal sports betting in the United States, we saw in New York State, the numbers have come in over the past few weeks and they've been phenomenal, much higher than expected. And in general, we look nationwide, we're seeing the amount of money spent on sports, on betting on sports, just skyrocket. Does that compete in any way with the NFT market, particularly those that are related to sports franchises, et cetera? In other words, people are like, look, I've got all this money. I'd rather gamble it than buy NFTs outright. I'd rather bet on particular games. Is that competing for the market here?
way we think about it is that this is about active community engagement in a cultural moment. So sport is one of the biggest cultural moments that everyone wants to participate in and be a part of. And if you think of betting on a game, you're participating just in that moment, but once that bet is done, it's over. Whereas with something's mentioned, NBA Top Shot, if you own that moment, the game is over, but you still have something that is part of that game that you can now hold on to, that you can trade, and that you can be part of 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line. So while they may compete indirectly in terms of people who are participating in gaming space and in sports, the theory or the thinking behind it is completely different, because I'm becoming now a owner of that moment. I'm now part of that community, and I want all the benefits that come with it. And what we're seeing with NFTs is that it's not just about the collection. It's not just about holding on to that moment. It also now gives you all these rights and access and the ability to be part of these member clubs that you weren't able to do before. And you can't do that by just playing it on a game. You're now part of this community, and you get all these additional benefits. So we think that's going to supersede the type of betting activity that you see. Not to say that that wouldn't be something that's being built into NFTs, and we're already starting to see some innovative companies thinking about how to incorporate betting into something like an NFT.
Question for Alex. You mentioned
value.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say we put a lot of value in NFT infrastructure around some of these properties. Price prediction, how much is an NFT worth? What are some of the interactivity components downstream? We actually think kind of DraftKings 2.0 will come from crypto, where you have a wallet, that's enabled for stable coins and other things that would unlock a gaming or gambling component. You might own a player that, we can bring real-time price feeds in around data, how they perform that night. And you can build kind of similar experiences to what we see in traditional gambling and gaming worlds, but alongside, IP ownership and a broader strategy for crypto economic games where, you might actually think the asset would appreciate if the player did well that night, if you won your bet. So it's this intersection here between gaming, NFTs, and DeFi that's extremely exciting.
Alex, I was just going to ask you, because you mentioned the mainstream adoption of NFTs. Let's just talk about the technology for a moment. Who do you think is going to be the dominant player in NFTs? Right now, it's still Ether, but Ether has a lot of very obvious problems like high gas fees. Where do you think most of the NFT action is going to happen in the future? Do you think we're going to really see more happening on Solana or other blockchains, or what's your prediction?
Yeah, I look at blockchains like operating systems. We have a couple that work really well in the traditional world, iOS, Windows, Linux, and a few others. I'm not exactly sure how, each scalability solution will play out its NFT use cases. We have some that are building specifically for collectibles and gaming, a flow built by Dapper Labs. Solana has built a really nice community around some of their early NFT projects. And long term, we really view NFTs as needing strong interoperability solutions. So, if they are launched on Matic, for example, or Polygon, which is one of the leading sort of NFT layer 2 solutions, trading is very cheap, and that's a core property to increasing subscriber growth, increasing activity, and improving out some of these markets. So I'm a little more agnostic on which technology some of these beachhead markets develop on, and I'm more looking forward to how the interoperability comes together. Is it OpenSea that is the dominant marketplace that connects to all the different underlying technologies and communities? Is it Rarible, one of our portfolio companies that's building a liquidity interoperability solution, a protocol that allows NFT liquidity to move cross-chain? So we're really looking out like 2 years and enjoying some of the reasons why people are choosing existing tech solutions to launch their project. ETH just has the biggest reach and the most connectivity through MetaMask and the EVM solution, but there will be many others. And I think that our eye on the prize is thinking about how it all comes together, not which one wins.
Thank you. A quick question, last question for Yossi. We ask this to a lot of metaverse investors. The crypto metaverse right now is still, the barriers to entry are still pretty high. I wouldn't say it's particularly mainstream friendly. When do you see that changing, and what will it take to change that?
Yeah, I think we're already starting to see that change. If you look at games like Axie Infinity and the play-earn movement, which allows people to effectively play a game, earn NFTs in the game that could be traded for currency and earn a living, a real living. That's why we've seen the explosion of something like Axies as a game, as a first point in making it more accessible to a broader community. We're seeing, as Alex mentioned, some other chains that are lower cost, something like Tezos. We invested in a platform called FX Hash. We invested in a number of the NFTs that came out of that platform. It's a very low cost way for any artist to be able to create NFTs on their platform, and has really brought down the barrier. So we're already seeing technical innovation happening in this space to open it up and to make a more open metaverse. And we're very encouraged by the developments that are happening in that space.
Yeah, Yossi, we also see Web 2 trying to adapt, and I noticed one of your tweets talking about Twitter linking your NFT wallet to display a profile picture is a genius way for them to be able to link wallet addresses to everything else they know about you through your Twitter handle. So I wonder, I sense some skepticism there, and so I wonder what you think of the Web 2 transition to Web 3, and what are the truly decentralized NFT platforms out there, or who are the pretenders?
Yeah, my tweet is skeptical. Twitter is a ad revenue business, and getting access to the assets that you have and profiling that is tremendously valuable. And that's why I think it is genius from a platform like Twitter. It is also, at the same time, opening the ecosystem and opening up NFTs to a broader community, and will, like Alex said, help bring that mainstream adoption. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword in terms of the move from Twitter, improving on usability, improving on the ability to display PFP profiles, making that more mainstream, but at the same time, thinking through the incentives of why are you doing this? Well, for me, it's pretty clear what would they want with that information. There are open platforms that are out there. Alex mentioned OpenSea, an alternative that's come up, which is more open. It's a platform called Looks Rare, and they're starting to make waves with sorts of incentives that have been dropped to the OpenSea users on being able to trade on their decentralized exchange, and that is an open alternative to a number of other platforms that are out there. So we're seeing that the community, like in the traditional crypto market, seeing that you've got your centralized exchanges and your platforms that are emerging, and that's what makes this industry so exciting, and us as both an investor and producer so excited about the potential.
Are you invested in OpenSea?
Moving forward. We did not participate in OpenSea in this previous round, but CoinFund opens in one of their competitors, Rarible, and Alex mentioned what they're doing on that side there.